guys, welcome back to the Outriders podcast, the official podcast of digital and creative media works, where each week we take something from pop culture and try to break it down to better understand it. My name is David.
My name's Ben.
Hello. What was that?
I don't know.
Once again, I feel the intros get weirder.
I've been here twice in 1 week, and that's 2 times too many, to be honest.
Ben's going away, so it's sort of, we've had to crunch a lot of our recording.
Crunching a lot of stuff. I've been here too much.
Too much, bro.
Too much,
and I'm here too much. And
You're here all the time, so clearly...
It's not good for everyone.
No.
We figured, because Borderlands 3 was announced and it's
Hooray.
Let's talk about it. And we haven't thought about Borderlands since the second game came out. We thought we would chat about it and try and see because it's a funny game. It's a funny game series in general where it kind of escaped the curve of that YouTube thing where the games came out just before video essays were really a big thing. So it hasn't received a lot of that brainy cerebral discourse.
Came out before BioShock Infinite, which apparently is the point.
That's the big tipping point.
Yeah. But everyone just kind of lost their mind at BioShock Infinite for various reasons.
I think because maybe that'll be a good discussion point once we get through the summary. But I think one of the reasons that happened is Infinite was so promisingly interesting conceptually, and the gameplay was so nothing that it finally made people start talking about shit again properly.
Cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, because we were all so chilled out because video games were so good for so long.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, this one's good, but is it? And then that kind of started it again. Whereas I think Borderlands skated under that a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, Borderlands is a series of action role-playing first-person shooter games set in a space western sci-fi fantasy, created by Gearbox Software, published by 2K on a bunch of shit. Tons of platforms.
Yeah.
There's been 3 main games plus the 2 Telltale series games as well. And I'm going to kind of run through all of them in general to kind of get us up to speed of the general vibe of the series and the narrative so far, because Borderlands 3 takes place after all of those. So it has characters from both the main games and also the Telltale games.
Right.
I quite like the Telltale games.
I have not played them.
Yeah. I don't know, they're fun. Shortly after Corporation Dull leaves the planet Pandora at the start of Borderlands, 4 Vault Hunters arrive to seek out the Vault. They're guided by a mysterious entity, the Guardian Angel, that lives within the planet's communication EchoNet system to collect pieces of the Vault Key, but are warned that the Vault can only be accessed every 200 years and that time is soon approaching, urging them onwards. They eventually complete the key and locate the vault, but on opening, it releases a gigantic monster. They fight off the monster and push it back into the vault, which then closes, leaving Pandora safe once again. In the pre-sequel, which takes place directly afterwards, Jack, a low-level programmer for Hyperion, discovers another vault on Pandora's moon, Elpis, and hires 4 Vault Hunters, including Athena, to seek it in the wake of the first vault's closure. With the Vault Hunters' help, Jack is able to seize control of Helios, the Hyperion space station in orbit between Pandora and its moon, and uses its resources to secure the vault with the help of the Hunters. Inside, there is only a strange artifact in the shape of a vault symbol, but when Jack touches it, he experiences visions of the Warrior's imminent release. Jack starts to go mad with power, and Lilith punches the artifact into his face, disfiguring him forever. Jack assumes his mask, becoming Handsome Jack, and takes over Hyperion as he swears vengeance on the Vault Hunters. In Borderlands 2, 4 new hunters have arrived to find a new vault that has been discovered on Pandora, but Handsome Jack uses his array of Hyperion resources to try and stop them. The new hunters are further guided by the Angel, who is revealed to be Jack's daughter, dying from excessive psychic powers that she has. Jack had used the Angel to trick the first Vault Hunters to opening the vault on Pandora to gain access to Iridium, a material with untold properties, and these Vault Hunters, now aware of Jack's involvement, also come to the new Vault Hunters' aid. While they find the vault, Jack arrives and joins them as they open it, and he summons forth the Warrior, another gigantic creature, which he wants to use to control Pandora and beyond. The Vault Hunters defeat the Warrior and leave Jack to his death before the vault closes up. Sometime after these events, we're not sure how long, in the Tales of Borderlands, the absence of Jack's power leaves a void on both Pandora and Hyperion. A Hyperion lackey, Reese, and a con artist, Fiona, get caught up in events over the sale of a fake vault key to Reese's superior for $10 million. They discover there is another vault, the Vault of the Traveler, controlled by a robot named Gortys. As they collect the scattered parts of Gortys, Reese inadvertently downloads a copy of Handsome Jack's personality into his cybernetic mind, and once back on Helios, Jack takes over the entire station. Reese and Fiona stop Jack and cause the station to crash into Pandora, wiping out Jack's personality for good. They then help defeat the Traveler, another gigantic monster, freeing Gortys and leaving the vault to be explored finally. It's kind of like
Is there more?
no, that's it.
Is that it?
Yeah,
You sure?
yeah. I feel like
You
I
don't
did
want to double check?
that. No, that was it.
No, was it?
How do you feel about that?
There's a lot.
It was a lot, huh? What
Don't
happened?
like I've played most of the games and all of that just went way over my head.
We were talking about it last night when we were playing Dark Souls, but it does feel a bit like the Avatar of games where everyone played it, but no one remembers what the fuck happened.
No one really remembers what happened in
Yeah.
that video game.
I remember like some of the class skills and stuff.
I remember
and, like,
Claptrap. I remember
Claptrap's there.
hating
He's annoying,
Claptrap.
but he's supposed to be hated, so I guess he gets the free
Nah,
pass.
they really tried to make him likable with the memes.
With the memes, what was your experience with these games? Like, were you playing it with other people? Like, how did you?
I played
these?
I played like a tiny smidge of Borderlands 1. I didn't really play that. The one I played the most was Borderlands 2.
Yeah.
I don't think I've played pre-sequel.
It's very weird. I honestly prefer
the
it to
one where like
other
the
two.
moon is just Australia.
The moon's Australia. I prefer the
Yeah.
comedy in that one, but I think the Borderlands 2 gameplay is so solid.
Yeah, most of my times was in the second game, and I played that solo,
Mhm.
like a tiny bit co-op, mostly solo.
Mhm.
Kind of boring.
It's pretty fun.
I forget what class I played. I think
don't
it was the
know.
guy with the turret or some shit.
Yeah,
I don't know, the
soldier
boring
character.
one. Yeah.
I like the fact that so I played that and I was sort of I played the sniper character, like the assassin type, and then someone else played the soldier character. What was really interesting is when we played through the whole game, like I think we got up to like New Game Plus Plus or something.
Yeah.
Played it a bunch and we got up to I was like level 200 or some bullshit, whatever the max is. Like we
Yeah.
got to that and then we stopped. What was interesting about that game is that it was the first thing I've ever come close to that sort of it's not an MMO, but it was the first game that I played like it was an MMO.
Yeah.
And that's such a weird property for a like because I guess like Destiny hadn't come out yet. There weren't really shooters that were doing that, were there?
It's a weird thing where before, like after Destiny, the games like Borderlands 2 don't really exist.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of curious what they're going to do with the third one, if they're going to go back to like the Borderlands sort of way of playing, or if they're going to do the Destiny thing.
Destiny, yeah.
But Borderlands 2 definitely like it emulates the kind of style of MMO-ness that like Diablo 2 had,
Yeah.
where it's not explicitly an MMO, but a lot of people play it. Yeah, like a lot of people play it like it is. Like they'll have sort of their character that they'll kind of work on repeatedly, and you tend to sort of at a certain point you tend to kind of just do more multiplayer stuff. And in this case, it was just all co-op. But yeah, that idea of I got to do this boss because it has a chance of dropping this weapon that I want. So that, and it's like there's no real end goal. It's just like I just want better shit.
I think the difference between like an MMO and Borderlands is that Borderlands like you actually like you're invested in the story as you go. I mean, even though like we were saying we didn't really remember it, the spectacle of it and the events that happen and the story as it progresses. Because Handsome Jack is such a good villain.
Yeah,
there is this element of like. Yeah, you do go through and you're like, I want to get a cool ass gun, but at the same time, like you kind of get involved in that story.
Yeah, and like when you're playing these games, you just kind of play them for the story. It's only once you get to like the end, once you finish the game, and the game goes, all right, you finished the game. You can kind of just keep playing if you want, but there's no more story to get. That's when it kind of transitions into this more like long term kind of video game. Yeah, and kind of why I say that like. I'm like curious what Borderlands 3 is kind of goes, because like more recently with games like Destiny, with like The Division, Anthem, Warframe, all these games which it's kind of just become like the looter shooter genre, just basically just Diablo but with guns.
Yep.
They've all kind of moved towards not like an MMO, but more kind of they've sort of taken the bit at the end of Borderlands where it's not super story focused. You kind of just do what you want, and they've kind of just stretched that across the game, and then just like smattered in some story here and there.
Yeah,
where it's like when you play The Division, you're 100% aware of like the the grindiness or like the nature of like I'm gonna repeat this mission to get a better weapon,
or you're like, oh, I've got this quest because it's a game.
Yeah.
Whereas it definitely feels like with Borderlands, the series, I think 2 is the best example. 1 is, maybe we'll replay 1 with the remaster coming out. I don't know. I never really got into it, but definitely with 2, it didn't have that sense of being a game. Like, there's a lack of...
It feels like a linear experience.
Yeah, and I think with all of its systems, because it's very like self-aware and like kind of funny, but not in like a Deadpool kind of way, the levels of abstraction required to like your characters care about cool dope ass guns,
Right.
and the characters in the game are comparing how cool and good the stats are. So it doesn't feel like when you're in your menu comparing guns that you're like, you don't do like a video game thing. You're like, well, this is the world I'm in. These characters are always talking about cool guns and different effects and stuff, and it removes that layer of abstraction I think the Division has and like a lot of MMOs have, where you hit the pause menu to go into your inventory and suddenly it's this numbers game.
Yeah.
Whereas I think definitely Borderlands is a lot more fun where, because these characters in the game world are like, well, that one has better stats.
Yeah.
Or that one does corrosive damage. That's a dope ass little boomstick right there. There's a different like tone that goes into not just the linear stuff, but like that grindy like kind of loot and shoot stuff as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the voice that makes it more appealing to me, but definitely I'm wondering, in the current gaming landscape where everyone's trying to design games that you play forever,
Right.
They're games of services like the goal.
Services.
They want to be Netflix,
Yeah.
right?
Well, they all want to be. They want to be. Well, yeah. They just want to be the game that everyone like. It's sort of in like 2000, 2007, 2008. It was like everyone was trying to be World of Warcraft by like making MMOs. And then we had League of Legends, and then everyone was trying to be League of Legends by making a MOBA. And there was like a bit of military shooters in there somewhere.
Halo 3 kind of threw everyone for a spin.
Call of Duty.
Before that,
yeah. But now it's like, I guess developers, small publishers, they're aware that like, oh, you don't have to make a MOBA, you don't have to make a this or that. You just have to make it enough of a sort of, you have to make it present enough and put in sort of mechanics that get people coming back to create just like a funnel where you just kind of take people's time and just direct it towards the in-game shop.
Yeah, convert it into money, basically.
Yeah, like if you, Dan Olsen for his April Fools did probably one of the best and like most, I didn't think he was that clever about video games, but turns out he is. Like one of the most like in-depth and like correct analysis of Fortnite, which was hilarious because he did the whole video on Fortnite because he was like, April Fool's, I'm pivoting to Fortnite content. But yeah, he sort of talked about how the like Fortnite as a game isn't that, it's like, it's kind of whatever. Like the shooting is average. Like a lot of the mechanics fight against themselves. There's like,
its big win is that it's
the matchmaking sucks dick.
Yeah,
it's
the thing that makes it good is that it's pretty fine.
Yeah, but
it's so fine.
But the thing that keeps people playing is when you're not playing the game, you've got your battle pass, which is this constant drip feed of new shit to put on my character, and you've got like the whole idea of like the whole like player expression element of Fortnite is like entirely locked behind paywalls. You know, if you don't buy a skin, you literally get given a random character model from like the 3 or 4 default models that the game has. Every time you play, if you don't have a skin, it's just like you're now this guy and then you're now this girl.
None of that stuff changes the gameplay.
No.
So
but people, it's because, you know, you play the game to get the rewards. You don't get the rewards by when you just, you know, it's a case of a lot of people, they'll play the game for a bit. They'll be like, I really like Fortnite, and they'll get these rewards, and they'll be like, cool, I get rewards when I play this game. It's like a double whammy. And when the game would naturally, at a certain point, become non-rewarding, which is kind of what we hit with like Papa Gubbers, when we're like, nah, we know we've had
done
our
everything
fun.
we can.
Yeah. At that point, you know, people who are playing games that have these kind of these not like external mechanics. So they're not actual mechanics in the game, but they're just like part of, you know, like the item shop and the battle pass and the
stuff.
The monetization kind of model, the business model. When you've got games that have that kind of business model, suddenly when the game stops being, you know, interesting for what it is, they're hooked on that model. So they keep playing the game to get more of that model.
Then I guess the question would be, when you're talking about this, and this has always been a conversation that's been had forever. It's just now it's much more accessible because it's much more obvious with these games that we're seeing now.
Yeah.
But like, you know, back in the day, like, you know, even though there were no microtransactions, right? People would play Halo 3 online to get to like the max rank, to get the cool helmets and to get the cool armor customizations.
Yeah.
But I think what's happened now, and I guess this is why I'm curious about the discussion I kind of wanted to have with Borderlands, is that because it is that type of game, before that stuff existed in the industry, where does it go now? Like from an artistic perspective, in a game that is in a game that did that without the microtransactions, it's
And
really hard to
quite well.
really
Yeah.
hard to spend money on Borderlands 2. I bought all the DLC because I've played, and the DLC is fantastic.
DLC, yeah, and DLC is content.
And it's
DLC
story
isn't
DLC.
Yeah, DLC isn't a skin. It's
Yes.
not. It's
So
not an
here's-
emote. Yeah.
You can buy skins and different bits of armor in the as bits of DLC in that game, but
Yeah.
they don't. But again, you earn enough of those in the game throughout that it's not like a you unless you really want to get that stuff, it's not going to affect your playthrough. But I guess my question would be, from a development perspective, and even from a writing and voice perspective, this game that is so strong and did that naturally without the microtransactions, as a studio that has a responsibility to make money, that also might want to make art, where do they go from here?
They will almost. I mean, it's as cynical as it is. It will almost definitely follow the model that we've been seeing, just because it's Gearbox and 2K games. 2K games have been dipping their toes into the gross monetization
What
pie
kind of
recently.
gross shit have 2K done?
So 2K was one of the biggest people who fought against Belgium's legislation change where they deemed loot boxes as gambling. 2K games were sort of at the forefront of going, no, we're going to keep selling loot boxes despite the fact that it was deemed illegal in Belgium.
Mhm.
So a lot of their sport games, so like 2K19, the basketball one? The basketball one's just like...
That's NBA 2K.
NBA, yeah.
19.
So that one's just like filled with
Fucking love
microtransactions
those
despite
games.
the fact that it's a basketball game.
I'm still playing 2K15 because that was the one before microtransactions. It's the
Yeah.
best one.
That's probably the most notable thing, but I mean, there's no reason why they won't. It's, like EA is doing it, Activision's doing it.
See, I don't know. I think there is a strong reason why. I think there's a compelling reason why they won't.
But I think there's, if you think about these sort of live service games, even Assassin's Creed has been developed to be a live service, despite the fact that it's just a single player video game. It doesn't work as a live service because there's no drive to move the player into that monetization funnel.
I think
because the game itself is good.
The difference is,
And I think there's going to be a similar thing here where, Portal 2 had hats. Like, when Valve was running that Team Fortress 2 hat train and making $1 bajillion on skins, when they released Portal 2, they put hats in. There were microtransactions for Portal 2 co-op. No one bought them,
but they were there.
So it just kind of faded away, but it was there. And I feel like
the only thing that gives
2K is 100%. As the publisher, this isn't going to be Gearbox. Yeah. Gearbox are going to make the game that they make, whether it's good or bad. Who knows? It's been a while. Yeah. But 100%, I would put money on it that there is going to be. If it may not be egregious, it may not be.
It might be like Borderlands 2. You can just buy a bunch of skins and shit.
Yeah, it may not be gross and disgusting. They may not do a battle pass. They may not do loot boxes, but they might. They might just do it.
Here's the thing. Here's why I think they might not, and it's the only shred of hope I have. It is like a thin shred.
Sure.
But Take-Two published Red Dead 2. And that's what 2K is Take-Two. So
yeah,
my only hope is...
Take-Two also published Grand Theft Auto Online, which is the single highest revenue earning live service video game of all time.
But they also put out Red Dead 2, a game which...
But I think
you buy once and then you play. Okay, I agree. I guess what I'm more interested in is not
it could be a sense that they're aware of what they're not just like, oh, a new video game, put some dumb shit in it.
I'm more thinking they might be aware of the fact that because people don't realize they're the same company. What they might be doing is getting both ends of the pie. So if they put out Borderlands 3 and it's got none of that shit, they're going to be heralded as fucking heroes of the industry, whilst also publishing GTA Online, all this other shit. What I'm thinking is they
shouldn't be heralded, because you shouldn't herald someone as a hero for just not doing the bad thing.
Yeah, but have you seen the video games industry?
Yes.
At this point, that's the best we get. But no, I'm less interested in what they're going to do. I'm more interested in if because that series, because Borderlands is such a strong voiced franchise, it has a character to it.
Yeah.
Even that trailer, it wasn't too much. What I've noticed is they were careful not to make that trailer too much to scare off new people.
I just found it kind of boring.
The teaser, I was like, I don't give a shit. But
I only saw the teaser.
Oh, the gameplay trailer.
I haven't seen the gameplay
You should
trailer.
watch that in between the main show and the post show, because it got me so excited.
Right.
I didn't give a shit. I was like, I could care less about Borderlands, and then I saw that and I went,
Oh, okay.
oh, I'm in.
Right.
It was enough. It wasn't too much. It was enough where I was like, okay, there's a billion guns in the game. Like, little things like that where I'm like, okay, that's fun. You know, but it has that voice, has that tone to it. And the thing about it is it's not like these marketing campaigns now where it's like, you know, everyone's quipping in the trailers and the cinematics and stuff, and you get in the game and it's just like a military shooter.
Yeah.
Like, the game is that. So I guess reflecting on the franchise, especially thinking about the story-driven nature of this franchise, I think less so. That's why Borderlands 1 isn't as good. There's less story. Borderlands 2 works because it's got these established characters of the existing Vault Hunters who... Like, I played Borderlands 2 before once. I didn't know that Mordecai and that Lilith were existing characters or that Brick was an existing character. But they were people that felt like they lived in that world. So the story really pulls you in because it feels like, oh, these people have been here for a long time.
Yeah.
And what could be cool about, you know, moving that franchise forward now, given it's been so long, is that they can throw some cool stuff at the wall and see what they enjoy doing with that world and that concept.
Yeah. I think if anything, they will probably follow the kind of model that we've seen with like the Destiny and the Anthem with they'll take that end game thing and kind of stretch that a bit across, just because I think that makes a better game. I think that makes a more engaging game in some regards. It would at least...
Here's the thing, it would make a more engaging game. Doesn't necessarily mean it would make a better game.
Yeah, I mean, they could easily take the story in a direction that facilitates that kind of narrative.
It could be like, and they said there's no battle royale, but there's elements of that kind of, I don't know. I just think when you go, it's a weird thing now too, because it used to be that you could imagine when they were developing like Halo 3 or like Halo Reach or whatever.
Yeah.
That Bungie and 343 were these companies who like would just, Microsoft was like, just make another fucking Halo. You guys print money.
Yeah.
Like, do what you want to do, tell the story you want to tell. And then by Halo 5, they were like, well, we need to sell more toys. You need to have a second main protagonist. And that dictated how they were able to make their story in the game. And 5 is bad for that reason. So I wonder if we've got to a point now with video games in general as a storytelling mechanism where that kind of middle to top tier market that used to exist, which Borderlands fell into because it wasn't AAA, but it was like... It wasn't mid. Wasn't mid market either.
Close. It was like BioShock.
It was bumping on those edges.
Yeah.
Like the first one was definitely middle market, but the second one was kind of bumping AAA.
Yeah.
But I wonder if now, because like everything is either AAA or it's hugely indie, there's no middle market left. If they might not have the luxury to be as weird as they want to be.
Yeah.
And the weirdness is what makes those games really interesting.
Yeah, I've seen some people like describe their games. It's triple I as in like triple indie, and that just gives me an aneurysm.
Yeah, it's cringy. It's just a game that has a strong voice and knows what it's about.
Yeah.
And it's a strong voice in the sense that like, you know, you get the flavor. My favorite thing about this game, about these games in general, is like some of the randomly generated flavor text on weapons and the randomly generated names on weapons and stuff.
Yeah.
They add so much flavor to the world effortlessly, because it's like, oh, well, this gun is manufactured by this company, so they write about it in this way. And I was thinking about this in when we were playing Sekiro, because there's a lot of flavor text in that game versus the flavor text in something like Borderlands, or the flavor text in like Dark Souls, like Skyrim, or like those other, or like Oblivion. And the way that the devs, particularly Doom, I was thinking of Doom 20, the new one.
The new one, yeah.
Is it 2017 or
2016?
June 2016.
Yeah.
The flavor text in that game has 3 levels. So in your dossier or your compendium, you have like you have the normal version, which is like the publicly available thing, and then if you find enough of them, you get like the next level, which is like the kind of unredacted version, which is sort of, so the first one is like the cult's like, this thing's evil and it's gonna kick your ass.
The second one's like the scientific.
Second one's scientific, and the third one is like the crazy batshit cult
like,
one.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, if you pray to this one 3 times a week, you know, it's not gonna kill you as bad.
Yeah.
And it's this really fun thing where that tells you so much about the world immediately if you go digging for it. And Borderlands is a franchise that has that in spades, where like you'll be fucking around an area and you'll come across like a weird like little encampment of bandits, and they're like bickering between themselves, and you murk them, and you pick up like an audio log and you read and you check out what's going on. It's like, you know, one of their brothers died, so they've been... There's one in the ice area in Borderlands 2 where, like, they couldn't get across the ice because it was summer and it melted. So they spent, like, they spent so long in this cabin refusing to go outside because it was too cold that one of them killed, you know, one of the other brothers, and the other 3 lived there forever, and they were these bandits. And they got so hungry that one of them ate someone else, and then when it was finally time for summer, they were so comfortable they didn't want to leave. And then it's winter again when you play the game, and it's still there, and they're arguing. And that's such a dumb, fun, like, it doesn't add anything to the game.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of attention to detail that the Division had, like, the original Division had that, but it was more like watching a film than it was like that game. Like, it didn't have that richness that I think video games can achieve with the detail. I don't know. There's something specifically video game about the way, like Metro Exodus does it too, where you can discover things and take the time to work them out. Whereas in a film, it's like all of that smuggled in storytelling. It might be in one shot, and your brain has to like take it in. Whereas a game, you can like stare at something and try and like literally in your head do like the Batman Detective Vision thing where you like piece together what happened. And my concern, well, not my concern, but like one of the things I love about this franchise is that's their jam. Like, they love doing that, where they're like, let's tell this really complex, interesting story in this crazy, dumb space Western fantasy thing, but also have these kind of complex little bits of storytelling.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's not going to get lost in the transition. But what if they don't? Like, what could you imagine if they didn't? And that's such a thrilling thought to have. Is like, what if they just didn't?
I don't know. I think I'm probably a bit more jaded because I follow a lot of sort of what the industry is doing, and especially with these live services, that's been the big current thing. You know, we had the loot boxes, we had just the general gambling crap, which is still in most video games, and now it's just a case of, well, you know, video games are just trying to be the only game that exists. You know, like when EA released Anthem, like a couple weeks before, they also released Apex Legends, which was the like the Titanfall.
Yeah, they accidentally killed Anthem.
Yeah, and it was the kind of thing where EA as a publisher had released these two games, both with the same kind of, well, Apex Legends kind of just had like the Fortnite model, but Anthem was really trying to be this
like this new
long-term, like looter shooter
MMO. And it probably
MMO.
could have been
if it didn't suck dick.
If they'd held it for a few more months and fixed, like if they'd worked on it. And like let Apex make them more money than God, and then could you imagine then dropping that when everyone's bored of Apex?
Yeah, but it's this idea where the publishers are like, well, we just want all the money, and they simultaneously want to have these live service play for years kind of games, but they're also releasing games on a yearly basis. You know, they're still doing yearly sequels for Call of Duty kind of thing, where it's like, you can't...
Are they going to keep doing that, or do you think... Because here's the thing, you get 60 quid up front for a video game, whereas these games as service, like, you don't buy Fortnite, you just keep putting money into it.
But, like, there's no reason why they can't just do both. Because
you're right.
People, it's the kind of thing where it's like,
you're right, Call of Duty Blackout proved that.
Yeah. You can get that 60 quid per year, and then just, if people don't want to buy the next one, well, you've got them hooked on that previous 60 quid, and that keeps making them money. It's the kind of thing where if you've got everyone in the world, which is what they want all the money. Not most of the money, they want everyone, all the money. And if they release a game that's meant to be played forever, and then everyone starts playing it, and then some people teeter off, they release another one, and then they get everyone else again.
You are cynical.
And they just keep...
the industry's broken you, man. Because here's what I'll say. I agree totally. Except that...
That's what's going on. That's why you have Apex Legend, and then a couple months later, you have Anthem.
You don't have to play that shit. Here's the thing, though.
No, I don't play them.
No, but here's what I'm saying is...
They ain't gonna reel me in.
Yeah, like...
I'm already reeled in by Warframe.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying, right? You don't have to go in for that shit. And I think... there is enough people left, and it's definitely waning because there's so many more kids than there are of us now.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like, it's accessible to everyone. You can play it with your mom. She can play it. It's easy or whatever.
Yeah.
Not to like, I'm sure, like, when you watch someone like Ninja play Fortnite, that's a genuine craft and a skill that he's developed, right? But it's a game that anyone can play, right? Yeah. And that is a barrier to entry that's so low that it means that those games have such little artistic value that they will always exist. There will always be Fortnites. There will always be your PUBG style, battle royales. That's currently the fad, but it'll be something else later on.
Right.
It might come back to MMOs, it might be something else. But the fact that the industry is still willing to pour like millions of dollars into something like Red Dead 2 or like Sekiro or these games or these story-driven experiences, I think... even though the industry has got to this point where it's like so jaded, and I'm a little bit scared that like we're on this fucking knife edge right now where it's like something's gonna happen soon where we're gonna go one way or the other. Like, it's games as a service is either gonna work or it's not.
It's gonna crash.
And they haven't made it.
But then there'll be something else.
But it'll be something else. But the thing is, as long as there are still publishers and there are still developers like Rockstar and like the From Softwares of the industry, or even like God forbid Bethesda have learned their lesson from 76, right? Like, they're never going to do online again.
No.
As long as there are still people, and like CD Projekt Red, there are still companies out there making really good shit that has genuine artistic value, that as much as like the world of gaming is becoming this fucking pay-as-you-go loot box bullshit, I want to believe that people that make things like Borderlands, people that make things, of that nature with that strong voice and that strong character, can find a way to get the best of both worlds. Whether it is they do 10,000 skins for Borderlands 3 or whatever, or like you can buy better guns. I don't care, but like as long as the base game isn't affected, that's kind of all we can hope for. But
it does affect the base game.
I know, but I still
get into that, though.
I still have hope.
Right.
I choose to be a little naive in that sense, where I would like to think that there are
if you want an example of that kind of thing affecting the base game, the microtransactions in Shadow of War and the last act of the game.
They fixed it.
They did fix it.
I only played
but
it after
it
the fact.
was there.
And the thing is, it's a really good game too.
Yes.
Oh, you're right. Okay. Ben, you might.
So it can affect the game.
It can affect the game.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Sometimes the business model is taken into account with the design of the game.
Yeah.
It's just we hope that it's not.
Or we hope that if it is, there's enough push. So I was thinking about Outer Worlds when I was starting to think about all the stuff, which is very similar, like tonally to Borderlands, but it's made by the New Vegas guys coming out soon. That's a game where I can see them being like, do you want to buy a rad skin for your gun?
Yeah, and it's probably going to be...
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then they're not going to be like, buy this pack, and it's not going to be like Assassin's Creed, buy this experience pack so you don't have to grind as much.
Yeah.
But that stuff I don't hate, because it's like, you don't have to do it. And I don't mind... That's the other thing too, is it gives you the... What I like is when games give you the opportunity, if you like the game a lot and you play it a lot and you bought it once and you've spent like 200 hours on it, you can still give them money. Like, you can be like, hey, here's a bit more of my money for a cool thing that I would like in this game. I don't hate that.
Right.
I don't hate that option. But it's the minute that it interferes with the game, that's why I have an issue with it.
Okay.
Card% in the chat says that's all well and good, but is there going to be Battle Royale? The developers emphatically on stage said that's not the kind of game we're making. Doesn't mean that it's not going to be.
It's probably going to be a Battle Royale.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. Do you have any kind of closing thoughts before we kind of wrap this one?
I am extremely cynical and jaded, and I
I'm-
have no faith in the industry.
I'm choosing to be a little more naive. It's probably going to bite me on the ass, but I don't know.
See.
Playing
We'll see.
Sekiro has totally, again, re-energized my belief in the gaming industry as a whole. You can make good art that sells.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be for everyone, and that's fine. And Borderlands as a franchise has always been fun enough and easy enough to get into that anyone can play it. But going through and playing those games at length, and like when you do have 200 hours in it and you've played with someone else the whole time, it's like it's like when we play through the Souls games. You have like an emotional attachment to that experience, whether or not the game is any good. But if suddenly through that, journey that you have with a friend of yours, you have to like pull your wallet out, like I think that's when it's like, okay, now we have to have a conversation about regulation. I think that's where that comes in.
Right.
Do you have any recommendations for this week?
I don't know. I watched Pride and Prejudice, the TV show from '95.
Apparently in one sitting, right?
Nah, in like 2 sittings. There's only like 6 episodes.
Yeah.
It's quite short, or 9
Yeah,
episodes. I'm gonna say 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's
Yep. Good reco.
It's Colin Firth.
Yep.
In his like first TV appearance.
Yeah, he's really good in that, actually.
He's a hot boy.
Oh, God, he's so hot in that.
And Mr. What's his name? Starts with a B. The other character who gets they have like a double wedding at the very end. It's very funny.
Yeah.
The other man is much more attractive. But I don't know who he is or
guy.
who the actor is. But he just is.
I've been reading Logic's book, Supermarket. You know Logic the rapper.
Right.
His book, Supermarket.
Book.
It's sci-fi. It's so good. It's like a sci-fi love story. It's really good.
Sure.
It's called Supermarket. I've been he also released a soundtrack with it, which is the weirdest thing ever.
It's a book.
That's what I was bumping before. It's not a soundtrack for the book, but it's just a soundtrack related to the book. It's dope though. I was bumping it before.
I mean, yeah, of course it's not the soundtrack to the book, because books don't have soundtracks, David.
They do now. It's Logic. It's Logic, baby. Coming at you, Bobby Hole, up in your biz.
He's like, I can make music and I can write a book.
I'm a rapper and I want to write a book. Maybe both. It's really good. The book is very weird, but Yeah, I recommend both. I've been bumming the album, reading the book. Really nice. Really like heartfelt, kind of earnest story, which
Right.
I always appreciate.
Called Supermarket.
So called Supermarket. Yeah, it's about like a guy. The basic premise is there's this guy in a supermarket who's like in love with this girl who he works with, and then he gets abducted, and then there's a space adventure.
Oh, okay.
And then it jumps ahead 2 years, and he comes back. It's really cool.
Sure.
Highly recommend.
So it's like Evil Dead 2,
Kind of,
but just in the other direction.
yeah, and it's more of an exploration.
It's actually very like Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty fucking dark though. Like it's more about like growing up with trauma and stuff. But I highly
So
recommend.
it's nothing like Evil Dead
Not
2.
at all. Yeah, check that out. Otherwise, I've been working on my solo video. I think I finished the
Wowie.
research. So the script is finished. It's about 10,000 words.
Nice.
So it's going to be about an hour and a half video.
Oh.
I'm going to start.
Cutting it down.
I'm going to start. Nope, it's going to be that long. I'm going to start recording it this week.
All right.
So if you haven't rewatched Solo, A Solo Story by Han Solo, the Star Wars man, check that out. That's my recommendation for this week. Because I've watched it like 10 times and I'm starting to go a little bit mad. I'm getting there's something happening in my brain.
Right.
It's not good. Yeah, check that out. Otherwise, I started watching Peaky Blinders, which is it's like a British gangster story set in like the 1940s with
you always
Cillian
have
Murphy.
like 12 fucking recommendations every week, and I'm like, da.
I'm always picking at stuff, man.
All right.
I read a lot as well. I'm also reading
Oh my god.
I'm also reading the Next Skullduggery Pleasant book.
Joking.
Yeah, I know. I do a lot of media. Helps me focus.
Sure.
Otherwise, where can people find us?
Facebook,
At DCMworks Social.
YouTube, Twitter,
YouTube.com/DCMworks.
Twitter,
At DCM_works.
Patreon.
Patreon.com/DCMworks. You can start at $3 a month. We view it more as a subscription service than like a donation. Get access to all of our post shows, which we're about to do live. If you're watching this live,
Wow.
stick around for that. Otherwise, if you're a Patreon, we post all those after the fact. We post the VODs for those, so you can go over there and you can
The
watch those.
VODs.
That's the technical industry
the
term.
video on demands.
Yes.
The videos on demand.
That's what everyone else calls them.
The VSODs, the
yeah.
Vizods.
I mentioned this a few weeks ago. We've also like flattened our Patreon structure a bit. So if you are a Patreon or if you're thinking about it, go check out our new tiers. I've just made them a lot simpler and you get more stuff, which is always good. Otherwise, if you want to follow us individually, I'm at DCM I Hate Pie.
I'm at Literal Citrus.
We'll see you guys next week. If you